Hello and welcome to Brewers Daily, part of the Fan Arch Podcast Network. This episode is brought to you by Calshay. Use promo code FANARCHBASEBALL to get $10 when you trade 10. I'm Dave Gasper here on a Thursday show. We got a new injury to deal with when it comes with Brandon Woodruff. We got to talk about Bryce Trang in the second base position. And just looking ahead here to the series finale against the Cardinals. It seems like they've been playing forever. But Game 5 of the series is today, and it's finally going to be wrapping up. But Game 4 of it happening last night, and Brewers bats just completely fell silent after basically blowing the doors off the St. Louis Cardinals the day before in the doubleheader. He scored 10 runs there in Game 2. And in this one, the Brewers scored just one run that they're able to manufacture, but they were effectively shut down by Michael McGreevy, and they were put kind of in a pretty big hole early on. Did not help. The first inning, Kyle Harrison really just didn't seem to have his best stuff. Just not quite being as sharp, and obviously he had the short start his last time out. Then this time only goes 4 innings. Murph talking about just some general soreness that he's dealing with, so they kind of took him out a little bit earlier than maybe they originally would have, but still a short start, not quite as productive of a start for Kyle Harrison, puts the Brewers in a bit of a hole. Didn't really help that Luis Lara seemed to struggle out there in the outfield. I mean, he had a fly ball to him in the first inning there that he just kind of misplayed, jumped forward, didn't really need to, and the ball hit him basically kind of in the face, it looked like, as it was coming down. So that led to a double, and then that led to a long inning and a couple of runs for the Cardinals. Then he had another kind of adventurous play on a fly ball out there in the sun. So Luis Lara, as talented as he is and all that, still getting his bearings here. But he's playing in right field. That's where he was for the game last night versus center. So he was playing in right field for Sal Frelick, which is interesting because we're trying to figure out where exactly is Lara going to play because Frelick have been playing well. Same with Mitchell, same with Churio. And all those guys can play center field. Sal hasn't played there a ton just because Mitchell and Churio have been there, and Sal's just so good and right. But still, where is he going to take the playing time? It looks like it could be from Sal. At least that's where the first run was through. So that's an unfortunate one. Brewers bats just not quite able to do much against McGreevy there, and results in a loss. But the Brewers have taken the series. They got a chance to take 4 out of 5 here today, but we'll get into that as well. But first, we got to get to a bit more of the concerning news here, and that is Brandon Woodruff. So Pat Murphy kind of talked about this a little bit before the official update kind of came out, said the results were inconclusive, and they're still kind of waiting. So Adam McCalvy, Todd Rosiak, the guys who are down there in St. Louis with the team, they're reporting hey, Pat Murphy says it's inconclusive. They're waiting on a second opinion and all that. And then the report from the Brewers comes out, kind of the more official injury update, that imaging showed that Woodruff suffered an injury, a new injury to his anterior shoulder capsule. And if you recall, back in 2023, the shoulder capsule was where Woodruff's initial injury was. It's deep inside the shoulder. That's what required surgery the first time, that kept him out for a year and a half. And that is where he has an injury now, according to the imaging that Woodruff received. He is still seeking a second opinion from Dr. Keith Meister down in Texas, the surgeon who did the surgery the first time on him. He's been his go-to guy the entire time for this shoulder. And I like any sort of follow-up he's been following up with that doctor. So that doesn't necessarily change anything, but that doctor knows him well, and that shoulder capsule injury, that is the scary part, because that's very deep inside the shoulder. That's more than just, a cyst, got filled back up with liquid or something. Got to drain it, give it 6 weeks, and he can be back again. But this shows more of a deeper injury, maybe a re-injury to the surgically repaired part of the shoulder, and you just wonder about the longevity here for, can Woodruff come back from this again? At his age, at this stage in his career, if that were to require surgery again, like the injury required surgery the first time, I mean, that's another year and a half that you're looking at coming back. And that could be, you know, would the shoulder even still be workable? Would you even still be able to have the velocity at all after two surgeries on that? So that is the concerning part about, Brandon Woodruff being able to pitch again, not only this season, but in his career. So a lot is going to be resting on that second opinion from Dr. Meister and whether or not Brandon Woodruff should continue to keep going here. But that is kind of a scary sight to see, a new injury to the shoulder capsule, because that is what he had before that led to surgery. So throughout all of this, him pitching last year and this year, it's always been like, hey, no, like the shoulder's holding up, like it's not the surgically repaired part. That part is fine. It's just general soreness or whatever else. It just kind of comes with getting back. So it's, you really feel for Woody. It's really got to be tough to hear that news. But that is the update we have on Brandon Woodruff. So again, we're not expecting to see him back on the mound here for a little bit. His return officially TBD there. A lot of other Brewers, are kind of working their way back from the injured list and kind of going fairly well. Brian Fitzpatrick got Tommy John surgery the other day, so I mean he'll be back next year sometime. But still, like Rob Z and some of these other guys on the IL for the Brewers, they're just kind of continuing to slowly progress. DL Hall, same kind of thing. They are working their way back, and the Brewers are going to be hoping to have some of them back fairly soon here, because that could help them win a whole lot of games. And on Kalshi, you can trade every single game, and this game coming up here today for the Brewers, currently trading at 54% for a Brewers victory. And that's, I mean, you love to see that. Brewers being favored to win. But also, I'm looking here at the player props for this game, because the Brewers are bringing in Logan Henderson back from the IL, and he is currently being given a 33% chance to have 6 or more strikeouts in this game. Logan Henderson can get the strikeouts there a little bit. I feel pretty good about those possibilities for Henderson coming back after missing so much time. I think he's going to be fired up and ready to go. So Logan Henderson at 33% for 6+ strikeouts. That means a $100 trade pays out $282 with a win. And that is quite the return on investment there. On Kalshi, you're trading against peers in a live market, meaning there's no house. And as the probability changes, you can buy in and out of your position. For a limited time, download the Kalshi app and use promo code FANARCHBASEBALL to get $10 when you trade 10, KALSHI, Kalshi, trade on anything. All right, so at second base last night in the game, it was no Bryce Terang in the lineup. Pat Murphy instead placed Greg Jones at second base. And we were kind of wondering, what in the world is Greg Jones doing here when David Hamilton has to go on the IL? Why would you not call up an infielder to replace that? Why would you call up an outfielder? Well, Greg Jones can play a little bit of infield. Can is a loose term, I guess. I mean, you technically can put him out there. And the Brewers did. And let's see. Let's look at the box score here. Oh, the Brewers committed one error on the day. Who was the error committed by? Oh, Greg Jones at second base. Okay, interesting. So Greg Jones did about what was expected of him. He goes 0 for 2 at the plate, ends up getting pinch hit for later in the game, and committed an error. defensively, so did nothing that really kind of helped the team together there. So it's just kind of frustrating and weird that the Brewers did not call up Jet Williams or any sort of actual infielder to help cover the absence here of David Hamilton. Maybe it's they feel the injury is short term enough that they just want to get through this final week without him. But if you had to make a 40-man roster move anyways, I mean, why not go with someone who's an actual infielder? But either way, and don't worry, Pat Murphy confirmed post game that it was merely a night off for Bryce Terang. The Brewers, I mean, they're in the midst of this stretch of 18 games in 17 days. Bryce Terang's an everyday player. He has not gotten a day off in quite some time because he's such a key part of that lineup, such a key part of their defense. He's out there playing every single day. So Pat Murphy's like, hey, I'm going to give him a full day off here. We're putting Greg Jones out there. Doesn't matter what happens. Like Joey Ortiz ended up playing at second base later in the game. Andrew Vaughn moved over to third after he pinch hit for Greg Jones. So they made the infield work, and Vaughn at third base is definitely kind of a break glass in case of emergency scenario. That's a late game, defensive substitute kind of deal. He's not going to be starting there on a regular basis, but they feel comfortable with that situation, at least the late game sub, and that's what they ended up going with. And Murphy's like, look, it is just a complete night off. Nothing wrong with him. Just didn't want to use him. Wanted to get him some rest. Think he needs it. That kind of stuff. So it's like, okay, cool. So I would imagine Bryce Terang back out there for today's game. But still, if you got to know, it's like, all right, I want to get Bryce Terang a day off here in the coming days. You could have called up an actual infielder instead of Greg Jones. Just saying. Greg Jones' batting average on the season is now down to .087, by the way. So that is fun. All right. What is actually fun, though, is Logan Henderson making his return to the mound. Series finale here against St. Louis Cardinals. You're going to have Logan Henderson on the bump. Andre Pallant is going to be pitching for the Cardinals. 10-5, 3.60 ERA for Pallant. But Logan Henderson, 2-1, 2.74 ERA. He's done a really, really good job this year when he got called into the rotation. He's kind of hit the ground running. And he's made some adjustments and been a lot better this year, so that is good to see. But Henderson has been really, really good. And so the fact that he missed so much time with that low back tightness, had to essentially be shut down from throwing for a little bit. It took him much longer to get back than they initially thought when they placed him on the IL. But either way, he's back now. They have an amount, they'll announce the roster move here momentarily, but still, Henderson just coming back, that's going to be a big boost for this rotation, especially with Brandon Woodruff likely out here for the foreseeable future. That puts them in a bit of a tougher spot with that rotation because you lose your veteran leader, a guy that when he is out there, you can usually depend on for 6 clean and efficient innings and giving you a really good chance to win. So they're going to be relying more on their young guys, relying on Henderson, relying on Robert Gasser, relying on these kids, and so far it's done really well for him, and the development has been really good, and you're seeing that future of the rotation here really take shape, and Logan Henderson is clearly putting himself in that future for this rotation with the way that he has pitched so far in his career. And so getting him back is going to be a big boost, and hopefully that should boost the club and boost the bats a little bit to help them take 4 out of 5 here against the Cardinals and really kind of push them down further in the standings and just kind of keep them away from trying to make a run or having any sort of hope of chasing down the Brewers later on this season. So that's kind of what these series are for. You got to just kind of push them down, push them away, so can eliminate as many challengers as possible before you get to the final stretch run here. So that's what the Brewers are looking for. It's going to be a good finale here today. So the Brewers got that. And then one more series taking on the Pirates before the All-Star break. So we're going to have a couple days next week where there's no baseball. which, again, that break is going to be really good for all these guys, but it's this final kind of sprint to the All-Star break here. No days off that they have, so uh, final game against Cardinals, and then 3 more against the Pirates. We'll be breaking it all down here on Brewers Daily, and be sure to follow me on Twitter as well at dgasper24. Appreciate all of you watching and listening, and we'll see you again next time for another episode of Brewers Daily.